So how does SuperSpeed Golf work? What does our training look like? We have it broken down into a few different cycles. We have primary training cycles, we have maintenance phases, and then we have ramp-up cycles. And I'm going to explain all three of them. The first thing that I'm going to emphasize is through all of our SuperSpeed protocols, we have various different drills that we go through. Things like the step drill, heel stomp. These are different specific movements that are much more than just trying to swing the club as fast as you can. Because when we look at increasing club head speed, we have a ground up approach where we operate under a model called a speed pyramid. And that speed pyramid has three different components. There is our lower body and the ability to generate force from the ground, which is our primary block. In the middle of that pyramid, we have our upper body, which is rotational sequencing, which is how much torque we can develop in a rotational manner. And then at the very top of the pyramid, we have lag and wrist mechanics and how we release the golf club and train those to help us move the golf club ultimately as fast as we can. So our drills are always built with keeping that speed pyramid in mind, going from lower body ground force sequencing and generating force up to rotational sequencing and then up to lag. So when we look at training phases, our primary training phases are 10 weeks. And in that 10 weeks, you're going to tackle 2 5-week levels. And in those levels, it's available on our app, it's available where we have all of our training housed, is that we have all the drills, the sets, and the reps broken down for you there on exactly how to do them. So if you were to purchase SuperSpeed today, the first thing you're going to jump into is a 10-week primary training phase, which has 2 levels of 5 weeks each. At the end of that 10 weeks, you've gone through a pretty intensive training stretch where after a primary training phase, we're going to go into a maintenance phase. A maintenance phase, you go from during that primary training cycle, training 3 times a week, down to a maintenance phase where you're only going to train 1 time a week. Now, a question people have is, well, if I drop down to 1 time a week, am I going to lose my speed? No. We know that it's not sustainable to simply train 3 days a week for the rest of our lives. Similar to the gym, if we look at that analogy, what we're doing is we're talking about tapering. We've had 10 weeks of training 3 times a week. We're now going to drop down into a maintenance phase where you only need to train once a week. Are you going to gain speed in a maintenance phase? Not necessarily, but it's going to help you maintain your speeds and help make those new gains permanent. The length of a maintenance phase can vary a little bit depending on if you're in season or out of season, if you're a competitive player, and we'll have a separate video talking about how to handle maintenance phases specifically. At the end of a maintenance phase, you're now going to get into a ramp-up phase. So a ramp-up phase means that we're getting back into training 3 times a week. And once we get out of our ramp-up phase, we'll go back into a primary training cycle. So the way that we have it laid out, and if I've made this sound confusing, let me emphasize, all of this is laid out for you in all of our training documents and the way we have it laid out in our SuperSpeed Golf app. But the 3 main cycles we operate under is a primary training phase where we're really training very, very, very hard. We have a maintenance phase where we allow ourselves to let those speeds become more permanent and also give us a little bit of time away from training 3 days a week. And then we work back into a ramp up and then back into a primary training cycle.